College football playoffs best bets. Today we're talking all about the four quarterfinals games on Tuesday, December 31st, and Wednesday, New Year's Day, January 1st. As always, it's Austin, joined by Logan. We're going to go through every single game, give you our favorite pick. Now, Logan, obviously the people know I'm pretty under the weather, but I've been red hot, so you're combining my sickness, God power, with the red polo power. I might sweep the board today, but we have a pick in each of these games. But first, we need to recap how we did in the first round of the playoffs. I went 3-1, you went 2-2. Not too shabby. You're on a 19-12 run. I still am continuing my 35-10 run, which is why I continue to wear the red polo. Although I told you pre-show it is pretty dirty because I wore it on the holiday break. But hey, I do it for the people out there. We're going to dive into the games and let's just get on into it. I can't talk too long. First game begins on New Year's Eve, where we're talking about the Fiesta Bowl. The Boise State Broncos are playing host, if you will, to the home team, but we're in Glendale, to the Penn State Nittany Lions. Nittany Lions getting 11.5, over under 53.5. Logan, what's the move?
Yeah, so full disclosure on this pick, I'm going to be watching this with a bunch of Penn State fans, Penn State alum. So I'm not a Penn State fan or alum, but I am rolling with the Nittany Lions. I see the angle here and the pathway for Penn State to really win big. Again, we see double-digit spreads kind of for a reason. In the first round, when these teams were laying the points, you just went ahead and laid it. You didn't ask questions. They all covered as favorites. And now in this spot, I do think Boise State is going to be able to keep this game close in the first half. But really, I think that Penn State defense is going to wear them down in the second half and kind of cover that double-digit spread that we see they're laying like 11. Boise State's offense, too. 71st in passing. Penn State's defense, 9th in rushing yards allowed. I think they can make Boise State kind of one-dimensional. Obviously, you take out Ashton Jeanty. That if you shut him down, you shut down a big part of that offense. It's no secret. It's what Penn State will definitely be in the film room, scheming ways to kind of limit him. You're not going to completely stop him, but they're going to be able to limit him in a defense that I don't really think he's faced competition like this Penn State front. They're a pro-type NFL front, and I think they're going to really contain him. Boise State's defense as well. That's kind of where they look they kind of look like that group of five. I'm not going to disrespect them, call them bad. 52nd in points allowed, 119th in passing yards allowed. I just think that's going to really present some problems against Penn State. I think really we're going to see Penn State's athletes going to be able to get in space, really get through that secondary. And then kind of last point, Boise played Oregon tough earlier in the year, but that was really before Oregon found their footing and their identity. Penn State is the bigger, better team on both sides of the line, and they've played in these big games before. They played Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. They played Ohio State, obviously lost both those games, but they've been in the big-time moments. I'm kind of getting tired of the whole James Franklin narrative. I still think these boys will be ready to play, and they're laying a double-digit spread for a reason. I think Penn State's just the better team.
Yeah, I don't have a great lean on the spread, but just like the first round of the playoffs, I started the first game, which was that, I believe, Indiana and Notre Dame game on a Friday night. You had Notre Dame on the spread, free winner. I had the first half under. I'm going to start this week with another first half under at 27.5. I'm not a big fan of Penn State's offense, especially not on the road. I just haven't seen enough from Drew Aller to be like, that guy's got it. Boise State's got a great pass rush. Now, granted, let's keep in mind they're playing against Mountain West teams, but I still think they're going to be able to slow down the Penn State offense a little bit. I'm not saying they shut them out. I got 27.5 points to work with. We could see some jitters out of the gates for Penn State. On the flip side, you already talked about Penn State's defense. They're one of the best in the country. They're obviously going to be heavily focused on slowing down Ashton Jeanty. Tall task, but I still think Jeanty will get some things going, but when you get into the red zone, it's a little harder to score in there. So, look, I don't necessarily know if Jeanty's going to be breaking off 60-yard runs like we saw him do all season long. Maybe it's a lot of 3-4 yard carries, longer drives. Maybe they stall out in the red zone because they can't punch it in. So again, I really think this is a slower starting game. I don't really take a lot of full game unders, but I think this is a good first half. 27.5. Heck, it could be 17-10 at halftime. That's even higher scoring than I think it will be, and I still cash. I really like the first half under. I think if I lean spread, I'd maybe lean Penn State with you, but I just don't want to get there with Nittany Lions after I faded them last week. I know if I back them, they're going to lay an egg for me. I'll just take the first half under. Hopefully they lay an egg there. Next game, we are moving to the Peach Bowl. We have Texas taking on Arizona State. 12.5 points is the spread that we were getting here. You might be able to get 13.5 on different books. A big number here for the Longhorns, over under 51. Logan, what are you feeling in this game? They're not giving a lot of respect to Arizona State, but hey, do you think they got a chance at keeping this one close?
I do, and I'm kind of breaking exactly what I just said with the whole double-digit spread for a reason. I understand. I'm taking the Sun Devils plus the 12 and a half
I
that they're
meant I
getting, and
meant to
even
also note is that we are on New Year's Day. So if you are
yes.
watching, Happy New Year, baby. We're in 2025. All right, you can talk about the Sun Devils now.
Yeah, again, yeah. Let's start the year off cashing some bets, hopefully in the college football sector, right? I am taking Arizona State with the points. Like I said, sometimes I think the matchups are closer. That Penn State game, I don't think the matchups all that close. This one, I think Arizona State can definitely hang around with Texas. Let's talk about these two teams. First of all, let's talk about their matchups in the first round of the playoffs. Clemson's defense, they were just getting gashed by Texas. I mean, they're on the ground. Really, that's where guys like Jaden Blue. It was terrible tackling as well for Clemson. I mean, shout out Dabo Sweeney. They get those boys back to tackling. I don't know, but what I do know is Arizona State just 29th nationally in rushing yards allowed. I think they can actually limit Texas into some very kind of like third and long type situations, because that's not what we were seeing in that Clemson game. Texas was just having their way offensively, never really a threat to not move the ball. They moved the ball out however they did. Arizona State's defense, I think, can present them a little bit of problems. Clemson's offense, too, they were also one dimensional. I think that the Arizona State, with they have a great tandem, obviously, with Cam Scatterbo, but they also have a passing attack that I think is just a little bit better than Clemson. And for those reasons, I think they're going to be able to have success on the ground, even with Texas being pretty stout against the run. Cam Scatterbo is a different animal. He just is. What's his name? Maffa from Clemson was banged up coming in that game. He just wasn't even a factor in that game. That's not how this game's going to play out. It's going to play out a lot differently. I think also Texas being away from home, kind of where they're comfortable. They get to see Bevo down in the end zone at home. Now, Bevo won't be there for this game. A neutral site game, that's where the weirdness can happen. And I think Arizona State's just going to hang around, keep this a one-possession game. However it finishes, I'm not really sure if Arizona State could get the outright win, shock the world. That would be crazy. But I think Arizona State is definitely a live underdog in this one. Give me the Sun Devils plus the points.
Yeah, I love the pick, and I want to ride with you, but I'm going to try to help you out. I'm taking Texas team total under 33 and a half. For a lot of the reasons you said, I think Arizona State can keep this close. But I think if they're keeping it close, it's because their defense is rallying, tackling, making stops, and their offense is keeping Texas off the field. And that's kind of what they do with Scatterbo. Sam Levitt is definitely a big play guy. It's not like he's normally completing, 30 passes, check down Johnny left and right. So they do have the explosive capability, but I think that this offense from Arizona State, it's solid. I think they're able to run the football here and just chew that clock. In Texas offense, as you talked about, sometimes on the road, you can be a little bit weird. They've already played Georgia in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. That was an absolute disaster of a game. Maybe they have the jitters again in there as well. So, again, I just don't see them dropping, a 34, 35-point piece on my head. If they do, tip my cap to them. Arizona State's definitely playing with house money here. They know everyone's counting them out. No one is picking them to win this game. It could be a big upset spot. We've seen it happen before. Texas has laid eggs before. I really like their team total under 33 and a half. Goes hand in hand with Arizona State covering for you. Let's hope the Sun Devils can shock the world. Our next game is one that everyone's going to have their eyeballs on, because this is the Rose Bowl, where Ohio State Buckeyes are taking on the Oregon Ducks. A huge game. Obviously, they played earlier this year. Oregon barely squeaked away. And now, in the rematch, despite being the 1 seed versus the 8 seed, Oregon is getting points. They're 2.5-point dogs, slight underdogs on the money line, over under at 55.5, Logan. What are you doing here?
This one is kind of puzzling on the spread situation. I hope you can tackle that, because I don't have a read on this game, which side's going to come out. But what I think is going to happen is that we're going to get a lot of points, and I'm going to take the over in this one. Yes, I know last time Ohio State was on the field, I foolishly took an under, and I thought Tennessee's defense could present the problems. That Tennessee's defense was just they were Swiss cheese. They were playing man coverage, and that was the mistake. That's a mistake that I think Oregon might actually make a little bit with Jeremiah Smith, because Jeremiah Smith against man coverage, he actually just recently came out and said, don't guard me in man coverage. You can't guard me in man coverage. And I don't necessarily think Oregon's they're not going to just run strictly man. They'll probably mix zone and man, do all of that sort of stuff. But this Ohio State receiving core is very dangerous against man coverage. So if they ever do mix in those types of things, I think you're going to see explosive plays. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith, he already went off against them. he was a one-man wrecking crew against Tennessee. But there's also guys like Egbuka that can get it done on that side. Oregon's defense, 35th in rushing yards allowed. I think we're overlooking the fact that I think Judkins and Travion Henderson will be able to get some really good rushing attack. They will be able to keep this Oregon defense kind of guessing. And I think if you're guessing against an offense like Ohio State, you're just going to be giving up a lot of chunk plays, and that's kind of where that Tennessee game went, wild for my under. It was just explosive play after explosive play, and then on the other side, we look at Dylan Gabriel too. I think he's really able to spin it. Ohio State's defensive secondary pretty solid, but they've given up some plays time and time again. They weren't really tested against Tennessee. That's whatever. It's Nico on the road. But Dylan Gabriel's been in college football for a long time. He will be ready for this game. Also worth noting, kind of back on Oregon's defense, they gave up 30-plus points to good offenses when they played good offenses. Boise State, Ohio State, Penn State, those were all offenses that they gave up 30-plus to. So really, I look at this over and I say, if Ohio State can get me near 30, can Oregon get me near 30 and get us over this total? I think Oregon is going to have to match Ohio State's tempo, because when Chip Kelly wants to go fast, it's funny enough, Chip Kelly, right? That name's resurfaced. Chip Kelly, when he wants to go fast with this Ohio State offense, they go really fast. And then you're just kicking yourself for picking an under. And if they play up-tempo, kind of force Oregon into an up-tempo game, we could see a track meet in the Rose Bowl, and I really do like the over between these two teams.
Yeah, I looked at that total. It feels like an easy over. I hope it hits for you. I'm going to take the Buckeyes. I'll take them on the money line. I really want to get there with Oregon. I love Dylan Gabriel, obviously a former UCF Knight. I root for him. So kind of think this is a win-win. If Ohio State wins, I win some money. If Dylan Gabriel moves on, good for him. I just think Ohio State's playing hungrier right now. And they obviously just played last week. Oregon's had a longer extended break. Sometimes you see teams be a little bit sluggish coming off of those types of things. So I think the Buckeyes coming in here, coming off that big win against Tennessee, this is a much tougher task. Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, they should have easily won that game. And I'm glad they did. They needed that for their confidence. I think their offense shows up. Would love to see what Will Howard did last week. So if we can duplicate it, they have a great tandem on the ground. Jeremiah Smith in the air. I think they're able to win here. I think the fact that they opened as plus 1.5, now they've shifted all the way to minus 2.5. In fact, you can get the Oregon Ducks, an undefeated team, at plus money on the money line. I don't know. Something feels weird about that. It's the Rose Bowl. Ohio State's always there, it feels like. I'll take the Buckeyes on the money line. I think they win this one. I don't know. It's just a feeling I got. What do you feel about the outcome of this one, though?
Yeah, as I've been kind of dissecting this game, I've kind of been leaning on the other side, and I'm not. It's no slight against you, but I think Dan Lanning's going to have this Oregon team playing very, very hungry. I mean, they're not satisfied. Oregon's the big. They've achieved the big nothing burger in the scope of college football. Ohio State's been there. They've been to the mountaintop. We know how good Ryan Day is against everybody not named Michigan, but this Oregon team is very good. They have speed that not a lot of college football teams can match. Now, I think Ohio State can match up in some respects, but again, I see a lot of speed, a lot of kind of guys that can turn the edge and just go for 25 plus yards. Guys like that I don't really think Ohio State can match. I mean, yes, they've got Jeremiah Smith, I mentioned Egbuka, guys like that offensively. I think when it comes down to those big red zone type stops, I think that's where Oregon's defense is a little bit better than Ohio State. So I'm kind of leaning Ducks, but again, I see game flow kind of, predicting an over in this one.
Yeah, it's a tough game to predict, honestly. One of my least favorite picks that I'll give out on the video, but I'll take the Buckeyes, see if they can come through for me. Then our final game of the week, the All-State Sugar Bowl, where we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Bulldogs down their QB, Carson Beck, who just declared for the draft. Insert Gunnar Stockton, I believe is his name. Right now, you're seeing a pick 'em. The UGA is slightly favored at minus 115. The Irish are minus 105, give or take. A low total, I think the lowest total on the board at 46. Logan, what do you feel in this game? I heard you have a pick for the winner.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Irish in this one. It's a pick 'em, so take the 1.5 or whatever. I don't care. Notre Dame outright is how I see this game winning, because I mean, up until garbage time, that Notre Dame defense was just looking like the best unit in college football. And I mean, Indiana, they were holding Indiana just 3 points, and then they really showed why they're top 3 scoring defense in the nation. They are different. If I look at the college football playoff landscape and I say, who's the most complete defense. I think it's I think it's Notre Dame. Obviously, we just talked about Ohio State, but Notre Dame's defense secondary checks the boxes, right? If their defensive line is so elite, they're in the backfield almost every other play. I don't think really if you're comparing these two teams, Georgia is not Georgia of years past. Georgia's defense isn't what it once was. They are not an elite unit. They're giving up 128.3 rushing yards a game. That's 37th in the country. Their passing yards allowed 209. That's 51st in the nation. So normally we're used to like a top 10 type Georgia defense. They're not that really this year. They're giving up the yards and they're giving up a lot of plays. Jeremiah Love is one of the best running backs in the country. Sometimes he's banged up or whatnot, but they can do it in a lot of different ways. They can get the ball in his hands, and they can just be a very explosive offense, kind of a sneaky explosive offense. They don't have the flashy superstars like Jeremiah Smith, but Notre Dame's offense is 4th in points per game, 10th in rushing yards per game. Trust Marcus Freeman when he says he just wants to go and smack you in the mouth, because that's what they want to do. It's no secret. They just want to win the line of scrimmage, and I think they're able to do that against this Georgia team. Again, not really ripe with the Jalen Carters, the type of pros that we're normally used to seeing on that defensive line. Of course, without Carson Beck, what is this Georgia offense really going to look like? You and I have no idea. Like we're kind of throwing darts, hoping, if you're a Georgia fan, you're hoping Gunnar Stockton is that guy. I have my questions, right? On a neutral field against a really elite defense, do we really think he's able to show up? I'm going to go ahead and bet against it. I will. I'll just take the sure thing, which in my account, I think Notre Dame's the sure thing in this one. I know what I'm getting with the Irish, and I'll take them to win this game.
Yeah, I'm at a crossroads here, because if you guys have been watching the videos this season, number one, I appreciate you. Number two, when I've seen Georgia in a pick'em or as underdogs, I always back them. I say Kirby Smart's the GOAT, we trust him, and we move on. But that's been mostly against Texas, and I just felt like their defense and their schemes matched up well against Texas, a team that does, I feel like, sometimes get in their own way on offense, where they're like trying trick plays and things like that. Notre Dame's not a very complicated offense. It's like you said, Marcus Freeman's like, we're just going to pound it right down your throat. And I think they're going to continue to do that here. And I think that's something that maybe Georgia, they'll be prepared for it. Kirby Smart's obviously a great coach. We know that. But I just don't know if they're able to make enough stops. And I think Gunnar Stockton, he is a wild card. He didn't obviously play too well in the Texas game. I mean, Texas kind of shot themselves in the foot in that one. I think Notre Dame, I would be with you, Logan. I'm on the Fighting Irish on the money line. I think they are a sleeper here. I think a lot of teams kind of counted them out coming into the playoffs, kind of saying, hey, they don't deserve it after their bad loss earlier on in the season. But what have they done? They've put their head down, gotten to work, and they've just dominated both sides of the ball in the trenches. When you win in the trenches, you win football games. And it's simple as that. Does Georgia have a lot of talent? Yes. Obviously not as talented as years past, where they have all those NFL guys. They'll still have NFL guys there. Don't worry about that. But I like the Fighting Irish with you, Logan. I know that sounds crazy to say. If you told me I was picking the Fighting Irish at the beginning of the season over the Dogs, I'd probably call myself an idiot. I think they got this one. I think they do. I can't trust Georgia right now with an unknown at QB. I think people still will trust Kirby Smart, and rightfully so. He's earned that respect if you want to put your money there. But I like the Fighting Irish with you, Logan. We're squad riding for the All-State Sugar Bowl to ring in the new year. We love to see that. Logan, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, once again, Happy New Year to all you guys who are watching. You made 2024 such a great year for Austin and I. We love the community we've created here. Hopefully you stick around for 2025, because even better things are going to come this next year for us. I'm really excited about that.
Yep, couldn't have said it better myself. Hopefully I feel a little bit better in a few days.
So
Man, we'll see. Not the ideal way to ring in the new year, but either way, we move on. We hope for some more winners, and we hope you guys have a great 2025. And we'll see you guys back again in our next college football video for the semifinals in a week or so. We'll see you guys then. Peace.